Now I'm at Long and McQuaid Rentals in Vancouver, just to return the tower speaker and microphone that Ezra Levant was using for his wonderful speech at the rally today. There's all the equipment. Okay, Ezra, this thing is heavy. Just remember, I'm doing this for you and for oil. And maybe because I got to drive my truck along a bike path. Well, this is gonna be fun.
Why do you wear a t-shirt that says I love oil sands? Because I want to express myself. I want to say to the world, I want to say, listen, this is something that I'm patriotic about. These are Canada's oil sands. These are the #1 regulated, most monitored reserve in the world. And we should be proud of that. We should express that. So if anybody sees me around, I do have a few stickers that I can give out for you guys, or some some badges that if you like, you want to rep it on your sleeve. I'd love to see that too. Hopefully in the future we can get some I Love LNG stuff going too. So I'll leave it there. I hope you guys all have a great time here. Please take a moment to speak with your families, talk to your friends about resource projects and the development and the need to say yes. And let's just continue that conversation and have an informed discussion. Thank you so much, Ezra.
Thanks, Chris. Great to see you.
You know, we all complain about the price of gas. But I'll tell you something. As I fill up my tank before I head out to a pro-oil pipeline rally, there's one thing I definitely don't complain about. And that's where this gas comes from. I'm proud to know that I'm supporting Canadian industry, Canadian jobs, the Canadian way of life. Those who protest against each and every project that gets proposed, in my eyes, are enemies of freedom, progress, and modern civilization. Extreme environmentalism is a religion. It's a disease, usually void of common sense and based on feelings rather than facts. Unfortunately, here on the left coast, it's all too common. Protests, protests, and more protests. But do those folks even know what they're really protesting against? Don't they realize that if we did not refine our own oil and produce our own fuels, that the alternative is going to be oil from the Middle East? Do they really think we should go that route instead of utilizing our own resources? No, of course not. I can't believe that. But then again, these people don't have any common sense at all. They never have any real solutions to what they perceive as being a problem. They simply think we should not use any oil. Period. They live in a dream world where civilization would run on intermittent solar panels, bird-chopping wind farms, and a sprinkling of some magic fairy dust. The truth is, civilization would grind to a halt. Really, really fast. Without modern technologies, electricity, refrigeration, medicines, a robust, thriving industrial sector, we'd have nothing. No computers, no grocery stores, no cars, no buildings, no cell phones, no lights, even clothes. Lifespans of about 30 or 35 would be about the max if you're lucky. But alas, this is indeed what many in the green movements and Occupy movements actually fantasize about. It's not really about the environment. They just don't like people. They see human beings as a curse on the planet. They think, very wrongly, that there's too many of us. Well, you know what? I don't buy it. Not for 1 second. I'm not religious, but if you believe in a creator, you've got to hand it to him or her for giving us opposable thumbs and a brain, because I believe Mother Nature designed us to use them. All that oil underground is not a coincidence. Who's to say we aren't supposed to extract it and make use of it? Who's to say it's not 100% natural to use our resources? I really cannot understand why anyone would actually think we're supposed to just leave it there to waste. Without energy, you have no progress, you have no civilization. The most common rebuttal by the enviro cults out there is claiming that the problem is actually CO2, also known as carbon dioxide. Which is astonishing to me and to anyone else who took basic science and learned that CO2 is a life-giving nutrient that makes green things grow. It is a plant food. Ask any farmer with a greenhouse. They have CO2 machines to pump it in there and make those plants grow. These same protesters claim to love trees, so you'd think they'd love what makes them grow, and in return, the trees give us oxygen to breathe. That's the miracle of life. Not only that, CO2 levels used to be 20 times higher in the planet's history with no negative effects. Even if we burned every single known fossil fuel on Earth, we still could not reach levels as high as in Earth's geographic past when the planet was lush and green. The whole notion that climate change is something new is equally absurd. The climate has always changed, and a so-called stable climate that doesn't change would be far more concerning to me. It's supposed to change. It always changes, sometimes much faster than anything we've ever seen today, sometimes slower. The planet used to be a lot hotter just a few hundred years ago, back when Greenland was, green. Extreme weather. I hate that phrase. It's used all the time in media and by politicians trying to pass carbon taxes. But the fact is, extreme weather is down. Down! All across the board compared to as recently as half a century ago. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. But unfortunately, mainstream media, government agencies, and heavily funded activist groups still perpetuate the false claims that somehow your SUV is going to cause hurricanes and we're all going to boil to death if you don't agree and start paying the piper. Come on everyone, you're bad. Change your light bulbs. Start paying carbon taxes or else. I'm sorry, but Al Gore, David Suzuki, and morons like Leonardo DiCaprio and Neil Young who hold publicity stunts against oil, I'm sick of all your hypocritical lies. And all who follow them. You're the problem, not us. And I'm even more sick of extreme left-wing media that reports on these subjects as if they were facts. They almost never tell the other side of the story. But thankfully, there are a few who dare to challenge the status quo. And one of them is Mr. Ezra Levant. Just like the thousands of climate scientists who have spoken out against Al Gore's global warming scam, Ezra is often criticized and labeled by green activists and Occupy groups as some sort of evil demon. But that's because he simply speaks the truth. The same truth I'm fighting for today. Ezra was recently voted Canada's best broadcaster in a poll run by one of the country's largest newspapers, the Globe and Mail. Embarrassingly for them, I'm sure, seeing as that newspaper is known to be quite left of center. I've been waging this war against Big Green for many, many years, running websites and social media to help educate people, at least to open their minds and filter out the propaganda that has brainwashed so many folks out there. It's truly awesome to have a national broadcaster such as Ezra Levant and Sun News actually stand up and do the same so that message reaches far, far larger audiences. So that's why I'm here today, to volunteer my time at a pro-oil, pro-industry rally in downtown Vancouver. Ezra was fantastic, to the point and accurate, of course. Have a listen.
Thank you very much. I love Canada and I love freedom. I love our prosperity. I love meeting new immigrants here who come from countries. I spoke to people here from Bulgaria, from Lithuania, from China, who come from places that are not free to our free country. We are so free that we even allow people to protest our own country, and we don't throw them in jail like they do in OPEC regimes, right? I mean, try protesting against OPEC oil in Saudi Arabia. You will only do that once. I disagree with the professional paid rent-a-mob protesters, but I would never want them jailed for having a different opinion than me. But my difference with them is that they should have a mutual respect and not try to kill the jobs that are the lifeblood, not just of the country, but of BC and this city. That is why we chose to have this pro-development, pro-jobs rally here at Crab Park. Because you cannot miss the enormous fact of industrial jobs just staring at you.
Yeah!
And I happen to regard that as beautiful. Not just fascinating to look at and colorful and interesting, but morally beautiful. British Columbians working hard, playing by the rules, being environmentally responsible, socially responsible, democratic, and making good jobs out of it. That is not just physically beautiful, that is morally beautiful.
Why do you take a stand? Why do you take a public stand on something that so many people have a negative view on? And I think about it this way. I say, look at how expensive this city and this province is becoming to live in, and look at how wages are stagnant. And if we want to see investment come to British Columbia, we need to start saying yes to some of these projects. If they're safe pipelines, whether it's LNG and fracking, which has never contaminated water despite what these aunties might tell you, if it's forestry, we've done it responsibly for years here in British Columbia, and if it's mining, something all of our lives depend on with our consumer products, everything we use.
Two more points to say before we go more in the way of housekeeping. We have a Sun camera here. I'm doing a TV show about today's event, so that'll be on Tuesday. And we have another camera here from my nonprofit group called ForCanada. And when we're going to ask folks to answer a basic question, why are you here? So if you don't want to be on tape, obviously just say no thanks and we won't film you. But if you are being taped, that's the purposes for a ForCanada ad or for a Sun News Network. So if you don't want to be on TV, that's perfectly fine. There are some people in this town who might be mean to you for coming and hanging out here, but I think you're here amongst friends. So that's my first point. The second point is people are saying, okay, what now? We had 300 people get together for hot dogs and bouncy castles. So now what? Now what do we do? We proved that the unicorn really does exist. There really are pro-development Vancouverites. So now what? Well, I want to do more. And with local champions like Chris and about 9 or 10 volunteers for the event tonight, including a lot of our food service staff, our Candy Floss folks, I want this to be just the first of many pro-development, pro-jobs events. If you want to be involved, please tell us by signing our survey of what you might want to do. Would you come to another event if there were even more hot dogs? would you do a different kind of event? Would you get involved online and help us spread the word? If you are interested, please sign up, because I hope that amongst you we can find champions who will say, yeah, we don't have to be defensive about being pro-jobs. We can take back our city in the spirit of BC from the professional naysayers who only say no. So without further ado, let me thank you. Let's get back to the hot dogs and the bouncy castles. I'll be here for a while saying hi. We can either talk on camera for the Sun, or if you want to say hi privately, I'll put the microphone down. I'm really glad everyone's here. And thank you, Lord above, for giving us sunshine.
Yeah. Thank you! My name is Justin. I support Canada's oil sands. I support safe pipelines. And I support industry. I'm not just pro-oil. I'm pro-human. I'm fighting back against the professional protesters who are often funded by foreign interest groups. And some of them have connections to overseas oil lobbyists, which really should be no surprise, because guess what? Saudi Arabia obviously doesn't want us to use our own oil. I mean, duh. Don't you greenies see that you're playing right into their hands by protesting our oil, which by design supports their oil? Whether you like it or not, much of the environmental lobby is really that corrupt. It's disgusting. And I really feel bad for those poor souls who stand there protesting, holding their signs, oblivious to what would happen to society if they actually got their way. I feel even worse if they actually think it has anything at all to do with the environment. I'm proud to be Canadian, and proud to support what built this country and will continue to build it. I will always push back against those who want us to go back to the dark ages. Keep on rocking in the free world, everyone, but don't purchase any Neil Young music. Be careful who you support.
But I think people here are here to take a stand for Vancouver and for jobs. But before I say another word, will you join me in doing something very Canadian that never happens at an anti-oil and gas protest? And that is singing our national anthem. I've been practicing in the bathroom for a week. Ready? Canada, our home.